Hello guys, I'm Super Ron, welcome back to the channel, and as you can see this week we've got a bit of an RS special. We've got this absolutely stunning C7 RS6 and this B8 RS5 in for some work with us, and they're both here for the same reason. They are sick of paying main dealer prices. They've both been quoted extortionate prices for the work they need done on their car, so they've come to us to keep those bills at a much more reasonable level with just as higher quality of service. So the RS6 needs discs and pads all round, and he was quoted more than I paid for my C5 RS6. So we've got all genuine parts to go on this, so that'll be a nice easy one to start with. New discs and pads all round, and then a much bigger job on the RS5 that has got some problems with the suspension. We've also got a carbon clean to do on this, and we've got a very fancy EVENTURI inlet to put on it as well. So we've got lots of trick carbon bits to go on here. So we'll get the quick and easy RS parts done first, and then we'll get on to the RS5. This is an absolute monster. These things are massive. It's 2 generations newer than mine, but it is space ages ahead. The spec they have inside, the size of them, the super aggressive front end just looks amazing. And the V8 twin turbo has all the power. So we have all our new parts here, all genuine. These are the actual parts Audi would have fitted at the main dealer, just the same. These are the discs, absolutely colossal. Here are the pads for the front. That is a brake pad. And if we peep in the wheel, you can see these are due. So let's get this up in the air and stripped off. And thank you to Audi, you can actually get the discs off without taking the calipers off. On its predecessors, you have to strip the whole thing down. So let's get these new discs out. The disc I showed you earlier was actually a rear. So these are the size of the monstrous fronts, absolutely massive. So let's get these all on. As you can see, these are due. New front ones to go on, like this. Looking much better. And round to the other side, brand new. Same on the rears. Usually you can't get the disc out, you have to take all the carrier and everything off. But on these ones, they just slide out. Not very common on these big braked cars. And also another problem with these RSs, they have this little cover you have to pop off to get the wind back tool in. Usually they're seized in and snap off, but this one came out a treat. And of course, had to sneak in a cheeky little Super On signature. And like I said, you can just slip them in. And here we are, all done. Looking like they've just come out of the factory, looking much better. Front's all on, and the rears all back together. So I've just taken it for a test drive, and all that coating has worn off nicely, so these are all perfectly smooth, but where the pads don't touch it, it stays on, meaning the inner lip doesn't go rusty. Same on the rears, and the alley bells have shined up nicely. We are good to go. The customer can have this one back. This RS6 is actually a returning customer. In a previous episode many years ago when I did lots of work on a Williams Clio, this is the same owner. Right, on to the RS5. So we've got 2 main areas we're going to be working on this. We've got the engine bay, we've got to do a walnut blast carbon clean, and then we've got some really cool EVENTURI carbon bits to go in there. And the other area is the suspension. These B8s still run the DRC hydraulic dynamic ride control suspension like its predecessors. You've seen on a previous episode we had a B7 RS4 where we totally redid the DRC suspension, all 4 shocks, all the hydraulic lines, all the flexies to keep it all OEM, but that did come at a massive expense. For the price of a couple of shocks, you can actually get a full Öhlins coilover setup. And these B8s actually have electronic control in each corner, as well as the dynamic hydraulic suspension, which stiffens it up as well, depending what setting you've got the car in. So the Öhlins coilover kit also comes with a full electronics package to take care of that. He's also bought some very nice 034 adjustable top arms, So we've got all front suspension to renew, shock springs, bottom arms, top arms, and with the 034 arm, they've got rose joints on the end so you can adjust the camber in and out. So let's have a look at some of these cool bits. Right, we had loads of boxes arrive, but it turned out it was mostly packaging. We've got this nice big box here, which has got our Olin springs, really nice quality stuff. We've got this big box here, and all that's got in is the coilover collars. So that's got the threaded bits, and you've got all the adjusters. Nothing in the ends, just all empty box, just for these. And this whopper, we've got our shocks, load of stickers. So here are the replacement front shocks, all adjustable on the bottom as well, so you can click it round to how firm you want it. As you can see, they're not electronically controlled anymore. So that's where this box of tricks comes in. So we've just got to wire this in, and then that's got a little ECU that fools the car into being happy. So that's all the Olin stuff. Then we've got this big one from 034 Motorsport, which has got standard bottom arms, but these super nice billet top arms. So these are the ones that go at the top with the dreaded pinch bolt, and then on the threaded end, rose joints go in, so you can adjust it in and out and adjust the camber of the car. 4 of them, bottom arms. We've got new joints for the bottom of the hub. And then we've got this very nice EVENTURI. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but there is a lot of carbon stuff in here. These are huge induction kits, lots of carbon pipe work, so we'll get them out in a minute as well. So we're going to start in the engine bay. We're going to do that carbon clean, then fit that super fancy induction kit. As you can see, the car has been sitting for a little while now, so it's pretty grubby in here. So if we are going to put all these posh bits in here, it'd only do it justice to give this a big clean up. Like so. That's a much better base. So we've given the bay a full detail before we strip it down. Now we can get to work. And I'll give you a little sneak peek inside these EVENTURI boxes. We have these absolutely stunning carbon fibre bits. They're real carbon all the way through, gloss finish. So they'll be replacing all these pipes at the top and these air boxes. So that's all to come. Let's strip it down. Right, that's all wrapped up and protected as always. So I went through the B8 RS4 strip down of the inlet, so we've covered that in another video. So for this, we'll just whiz through getting this off. Much, much easier than the B7 RS4s. Off it comes. And that is the inlet all off. So much easier than the B7 RS4s. You've got so much room at the back here where everything is going in the back of the inlet on the B7s. You've just got a couple of coolant pipes there and there, a couple of vacuums, and then there's a couple of breathers at the bottom and a vacuum feed there, and the inlet is off. There's nothing wedged up against the bulkhead like the B7s, where it's right up here, the throttle body comes out here, and you've got pipes trying to get under here. All nice and spacious. And also on these, the swell flaps actually stay on the car. So you can see them opening and closing in there, unlike the B7s that have it on the inlet. Just got to unbolt the swell flaps, take them off, and then we can get to the valves. But looking down there from what I can see, they don't look too bad. And I've just remembered a little bit of unhelpfulness from Audi. You undo all the bolts, and this clamp comes off, like that. But you can't get this out past the fuel rail. So you have to take the injector rail off to get this out. I reckon as assembly, they all go in together as one. But you wouldn't be able to pull the injectors back out again
with this together. So we've got to take the injectors out, then we can get this out, then we can get to the valves. And with the rail off, we can get the swell flap runners out. So now we're at the valves. I'll just put these back on, keep that clean and tidy. Do this side. And that's the swell flaps off, and I've just pulled out all the separators. And as you can see, they're not too bad. Got a little bit of build up. But these ones are just quite oily. But let's get the blaster out. Alright, super wrapped up. Let's see how many valves are open and closed. So we'll just put a little bit of brake cleaner down, see which ones are closed, and tape up the other ones. Here is the walnut blaster. Lucky, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can do it once. Then we'll turn the engine over. And just got all the faces cleaned up there. So I've got the ones with the valves that are open taped up because we don't want any media going down into the cylinders, but these ones have the valves closed, so that'll just stay in the port. We're all ready to go. Nice and protected as always. So let's get our walnut blaster fired up. And what that does, it fires walnut media out of that tube, which it comes from the bottom, and the hoover sucks it back in and recycles it, so it just goes round and round. So you don't actually use that much walnut blast, it kind of recycles it and filters it as it goes. The only thing with these massive ports, the head isn't quite big enough. So when it's over, you just get a little gap on one side, which is why we cover everything up, just to stop any media flying about. Right, let's get going. And within a couple of minutes, we are all spotless. See, before, after. Right, get these other ones done. That's 5 done. We'll give that a hoover off, turn the engine over and do the last 3. Take the tape off, and here's a bit of a before and after. Before, after. Let's get these last ones. And to turn the engine over on these, there's no centre crank bolt, so you can't turn it over from the crank. What you have to do is run it from the alternator. So put a 24mm socket on the alternator, and then the belt will turn the crankshaft. And re-squirted with the brake cleaner to show that these are shut. So these ones are ready to go, ready for a blast. Suck that back out. Start blasting. And the last ones, all done, all looking good as new. It's got a little bit to hoover up. The good thing about it all being dry media is it just hoovers up, doesn't make a mess. You can see we get a bit of sprinkle about, which is why I cover up the top, just so you don't want all that falling in the scuttle panel. So that'll just hoover up. How we used to do it before, with brake cleaner and a wire brush and a toothbrush and a pick, it just got so wet and messy, whereas like this, with the dry media, we can just hoover it up. So we'll get this cleaned up, and then we can start putting it back together. And then this is where it recirculates it all. All the walnut blast falls through. All the hard bits of carbon are left on. So we can recycle it and keep using it. And then we just empty up that top layer.
And all finished. And this is what we're left with. 16 pristine valves in 8 pristine ports, looking as good as it came out of the factory. This one wasn't as bad as some we've seen, but it still benefits from a clean. And you've got all that airflow for these new inlets. So now let's get all the inlet cleaned up, all the little divider spreaders cleaned up to look just as good as the inlet. And in. Swell flaps and injectors back on. Everybody on. Breather on. And let's give it a test. Right, that's been running for a few minutes. Everything's good. No fuel leaks, no coolant leaks. And now it's time to put the carbon bits on. So let's go and have a look at this EVENTURI box. All running good. No lights on the dash. So here are the original air boxes that went to both throttle bodies, and this is what we've got to replace them. A full EVENTURI induction kit, twin air filters, full carbon, real carbon as well, inside and out, all the brackets, the scoops go into the front panel. See, we are carbon inside and out. Got some heat shields, silicone hoses, everything we need to get it together. So let's start mocking this up in the bay. Alright, we'll take this off and see if we've got long or short scoops. Alright, according to this, we have short ducts, continue to page 6. This is a nice little touch. So from factory, the air comes in through the grille there, up, and there's a gap under here. So this trim is just hollow. Then the air is directed through there and onto the factory air boxes. And what these little scoops are, because we've got the shorter vent, we use the extension that they supply. And this goes under there, sits like that, and actually scoops the air up. You can see the carbon fibre through the grille now, and that will scoop the air up and then ram it down into the induction kits. So it's just a little bit more cold air feed. So I've just marked where they go. I'll take the vent off, drill them, and we'll get all this back together. And there's another one for this side. And all on. So now, classic Pimp My Ride style, we've got a scoop on our scoop on a scoop. Let's get these in. That should tuck in under there. Bolt on like that. So now we've got a nice bit of carbon showing through. And back on. Scoops on our scoops. Next up, identified left hand, right hand heat shield brackets. So these attach down here, and then the induction kit mounts off that. There and there. Let's get them on. So I've got that bolted on. Next up, put the coupler on, check, and go and get some carbon bits. Oh, look at that. And then this puppy sits in here. But first we need to continue our scooping and put another scoop on our scoop. So these are really nicely done. They've got all the indents for the factory clips, so this should just clip together. And they've even put a tiny little drain hole in the bottom, so if any water does go up, it's not going to sit in the bottom there. So that clips in there like factory, and the same on the top. Click, and that holds there in the factory points. So we've got our carbon scoop on our metal scoop, on our factory scoop, on our carbon scoop to get that air where it needs to go. So we'll just take our scoop extender 5000 off once again. And then we can get the induction kit in. Okay. That bolts in there. And then that still has the extra bracket to secure this pipe back on. Like so, just like factory. So we've got our very impressive carbon intake on. So let's put our scoop on a scoop on a scoop, get that lined up. Scoop on a scoop. In like that. So now they said on the, you've left these loose. So now we just need to adjust this around, try and get this sandwiched up against there. So I'll have a little tinker of that and do up all the clamps. And there it is on properly. It's just got this little sandwich buffer. So they're not actually connected together. They just kind of sandwich up like a bellows. But we're all clear everywhere. It is looking pretty special. And just to remind ourselves where we came from, here's the other standard one. So as you can see, massive improvement in looks. And of course it will be in performance and also quite a bit more noise. So let's do the same to the other side, get a matching pair. And all together, looking amazing. Got both sides on and it does look spectacular. Got the front end all unwrapped so we can get the full view. The gloss carbon is flawless. This is a really, really high-end kit and it just looks so nice being fully symmetrical. And I've just been making sure the last finishing touches, getting all the jubilees the same, getting everything symmetrical like I said. So it just looks perfect in the bay. And talking of finishing touches, wouldn't be complete without a little Super On signature hiding away. So I'll get that clipped on and we are done. Time to fire it up. Right, we're all warmed up. Top the coolant back up. Let's take a little test drive and see what these new induction kits sound like. That sounds better. You can breathe much more easy. Looking good. Just taking it out for a quick test drive and it sounds amazing. You know what an induction kit sounds like under load? Imagine 4.2 litres of air being poured in through two big induction kits. It sounds epic. So I'm going to wrap this video up here with the RS6 brakes and the carbon clean on this and the induction kit, probably ending up as quite a long episode. But I can't do the suspension at the minute because we can't find the locking wheel nut key. So I'll save all the suspension change for another episode. I said earlier, the guy with the RS6 also has the Williams Clio we've done lots of work on in the past. And he's just picked up the RS6 and he's dropped off the Williams Clio. So we've got some jobs to do on this. So hopefully I'll get a bit of filming done for you guys on that. Really happy with the bay on this one. The carbon clean wasn't too bad to do. I think Audi has solved that problem from the B7 to the B8. Whether they've changed something in the engine, they've redesigned how the breathers work, but they just don't suffer as much as their predecessor. But now it is all sparkling clean, just as it came out of the factory. So it really is making the most of these two new air filters. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you give it a like. We will be doing some more work on the RS5 with all the suspension change. We'll have some work on the Clio, and as always, there is a lot more around the workshop. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you tune in next time. But until then, make sure you have fun.